Thank you, Jim. Look at that wealth of experience going everywhere, and there's so many places we could go. And before I do, Matthew, can I give you a right of reply? You were referenced here. Please come up and provide some comments on. Get that slide back up.
Which one's that?
The last one.
Yeah.
Emo.
That's excellent. It's going on my wall, that one.
Because it's in there, Matthew, and that you just have a few comments on that slide and your thought process and where you see it going into the future.
All right, I'm going to struggle on this one because it's a Jisoo, but...
You don't tell me the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Jeez, come on.
Look, I think, as you commented, it's probably overdue that we're actually looking at things like biomethane, and I've certainly reflect your comments that it was all about hydrogen for a long time, and biomethane or not, but given the infrastructure challenges are going to be less. It's a lot more compatible. You don't really have that issue with flame stability and Wobbe index management with hydrogen blending. I think and again you can see where Europe are going, and obviously Denmark. I think there's a lot of capacity there, and it's probably more of a quick win. And as you said, hydrogen's got its own markets, so.
Yeah, I think it does. I think hydrogen's got some fantastic markets, and it can actually be used to do methanation of the CO2 as well. I think we just have to get our head around all of that stuff is for in this room, but for outside this room, you need to say to people there's going to be 300 to 600 petajoules of this gas by 2050. There's 80 now in the GSU. Stop worrying about not using your gas. The transition is to alternative gases. The transition isn't to oblivion, right? Don't buy into the upstream gas story. They're going to look after themselves. Don't worry about that. It's like, you need to look after the infrastructure providers need to look after themselves. Right? The producers aren't going to look after you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Matthew. I was on the spot, but I appreciate it. But it's a great observation and does reflect where we are. That's the whole point here. Who's next? Who would like to ask a question? Let me take another one. I've got quite a few here, Jim. Because I was
waiting for pears or apples to come flying over.
I mean, there's so many places we could go, but let's pull back on what you said about, and a common theme again today, about the story and messaging. We're getting that right and overcoming that inertia which you kept discussing here. So yes, there are some positive signs being reflected here. It's an alternative gases day, the roadmap. But what else are you hearing from the customers, the big customers? Give us, not who they are, but what are they saying to you?
Yeah, so right at the moment, the customers are facing up to 5% per annum, can't get gas, can't get an offer, can't get a price. And I put this stuff up and they say, when can you get it to me? Huh? Can you get it to me tomorrow? The market's there. Right? They absolutely want it. They're facing oblivion themselves if they can't get it, because a lot of these hard-to-abate industries, their answer at the moment is they're going to go to Canberra and argue for 2%, right? That's their answer. They don't have anything else they can do. I'm working with one company that has over $100 million a year of energy, and it could go to $150, $160 million, and they will just shut their operations down. Right? There's a big R reform going on here in the background, and I think that's the thing to understand. It's a bit above this. You're getting the backwash of a big R reform. If a government wants a manufacturing sector that's decarbonised, it's going to be what's going to be left, right? And if you're going to get there, I keep saying, just carve these industries out and let's deal with them separately. Try not to design a scheme that fits everybody. It doesn't. And start to get thinking through this area. Why aren't you putting more money into this? If there is 2,000 petajoules sitting out there, that's enough to fuel the LNG plants as well, right? I mean, we've got to get our heads around this, is either we believe this or we don't, right? And I think this whole ebb and flow between hydrogen and methane, get rid of that, right? Get this story. There's going to be 300 to 600 petajoules of alternative gases in this system by the time it gets to 2050. You will not have to change out your gas appliances. How is it going to look when you go to a customer and say, well, you can spend $20,000 going to hydrogen, or you can spend $20,000 going to electricity, or I come along and say you can spend nothing and just absorb some biomethane. Right? You've got to be careful. That's why the investors are knocking on our door. They can see that nobody's taking a good look at saying, if we can get the biomethane into the system, we don't have to worry customers. And we can actually swap it. So a good example is I can put biomethane into this system anywhere in the East Coast, and you can claim it anywhere else on the East Coast. Right? Does not have to be produced right beside you like hydrogen does.
And so, Jim, an extension of that, are you detecting a shift or a bit of a, not a quantum leap, because we don't do quantum leaps in Australia, as you said. We just take it slowly and we're laid back. But these large customers you mentioned, given the volatility in gas markets, their exposure to high prices and shortages, are they saying, okay, now let's go there quickly to biomethane, or are they still just a little bit reserved?
No, I think what's happening at the moment is a little bit like rabbits in the headlight. Some of the big customers that we have in the energy sector want to transfer into this business. Right? That's the 100 petajoule type loads. Some of them want to offshore their production. They don't have any belief that the government will ever introduce an effective CBAM. They think that, a good example is clinker. You can buy it for $100 a tonne out of Vietnam. By the time you get to this, it'll be $300 a tonne in Australia. Right? You just can't do that sort of stuff. And so I think people, I've got to say for the industrial customers, they are genuinely wanting to invest in an answer. They do. Right? They want it, and they will back an answer, but it has to be something that is pretty immediate, and there isn't. I mean, some of these things will take years as well, but I think they're looking for immediate answers now, and that's why they'll ask for relief through the government.
Before we wrap up, last opportunity for questions. Any more questions? Yes, please again, just introduce yourself and the company.
Scott Grisson, Valorify. Thanks very much, Jim. It's a wonderful presentation. Thank you. Gives me confidence and heart, I can tell you.
Well, there's at least one of us out there running the flag up.
Yeah, I'm flying the flag very vigorously for you, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you. One of the comments you made just then about methane and the ability to trade it and swap it out in different parts of the network is, there isn't a certificate mechanism that allows you to do that in the Australian marketplace today.
Correct.
And I believe it's only one AP6 for a period of 12 months that needs to be dedicated to actually developing that method so that it can unlock this market. It's bugger all in terms of the scheme of things. But the Commonwealth government seem reticent to focus on it because, if you'll excuse the pun, hydrogen's sucking a lot of the oxygen out of the debate. So, how do we address these? How do we bridge some of these kind of discrepancies in the market?
I agree. It'd be much better if we had a very coordinated, well thought out scheme, but we don't. And it'd be much better if we didn't have the asymmetry. So let me just say, firstly, the investors I'm talking to very much see that they'll put the gas into power. Right? Sorry, it's just the way it's going to go, because they don't have those schemes. So we're going to get what we call a deadweight loss in economics. People are going to invest in things they needn't invest in, and other people will go under because they should have got the gas. Right? It's as simple as that. The industry has to get on top of this. I think the other thing is that we're trying to bring gas recs in ourselves. I hope we bring them in and issue them. That'll embarrass everybody no end. And we will be able to sell those recs not just here, but in China and all sorts of other places as well. We get called, well, they're rubbish recs. I don't care, we're going to have recs and we're going to get money through that and it's going to get things built. Right? Just go and be pure somewhere else. I want to see schemes here that work, the back investment. I got to tell you, there is just tons of money out there wanting to invest in this bio industry, right? Tons of it. And I'm really happy. My next talk is to Gemini. Have I got an investor for you?
Linda's at the back. Linda's still there.
Yeah, I know. And we're having coffee, I know. It's one of those things that I guess I was surprised too when you get people come to you with projects that are 100 petajoules plus. Because everybody said, it's not out there. I said, well, it is. Right? You just got to go and find it.
Please thank Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.